What's up, Squadron? Aviation has given me a ton of amazing experiences. And more importantly, it's introduced me to a whole new family of friends. Join us tonight because we're cleared direct for some hangar flying. I'm Ryan Dembroski, and this is SuperAero Live. What is up, SuperAero Squadron, Sky Fam, AvGeeks? It's Wednesday, which, as Zach Sherman has made fun of me for before, can only mean one thing, sometimes two things, but tonight, one thing, and that is it's time for SuperAero Live. It's 8:30 Central, 2:30 Zulu now. What am I going to do with all those thumbnails? I'm going to have to change all the thumbnails, guys. I have to change them all. Lots of people in the chat tonight. Got Zach Sherman, Experimental Aircraft Channels here. Waukesha Pilots here. 72 Papas here. Navy Aviators here. I haven't seen you in a while. Dutchy Girls here. I haven't seen you in a while. Great to have you guys back in the channel. Bender's here. There's some other names I saw in the chat that I haven't seen in a while, and I'm scrolling down at Ryan. Ryan's here. Great to have you, Ryan. So many folks. So many folks in the chat, and it's super cool. Hey, before we get started, do the thing that Kevin Quid said was annoying on Facebook this week. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. And if you guys didn't see last week with Savannah Rasky, whoa, I literally almost cried at the end, which is kind of crazy. It's worth checking out. All right, I don't want to goof around too much longer before we get to our guest, but real quick, special thanks to our Patreon supporters. We're going to do a little debrief after the show, and our guest is going to be there. So that'll be cool. So patrons get that cool stuff. You can come talk airplanes with us if this isn't enough for you tonight. So anyway, I've been talking too long. Guys, gals, all my friends, check it out. Martin Pauly's here.
Hey, Ryan. Hey, everyone.
Hey, look at that. And in case you didn't know, behind you, Martin, is your Bonanza.
That's right. November 7, 0 Tango Bravo.
That's the full scale one. You're in a very big room.
It looks like it, yeah.
I don't know. Just Plain Silly's in the chat tonight, and I'm trying to do my best. Trying to do my best impression. Anyway,
it's tough to out-funny him.
Well, I'm not doing too well yet, but we're warming up to it. Ryan, you got the baby curl going on? What? Is that another hair reference? I don't know. All right, let's talk about Martin. Guys, if you haven't seen Martin's videos, he's kind of a big deal on the YouTubes. And does a lot of flying that I don't do, so that's why I'm excited to talk to you tonight, sir, is to talk about tons, like you do, just like, well, actually, you sent me a video. I'm going to play it while we chat here. Let's play it here. This is kind of the intro. The audio's off so we can chat over it, but like flying a dope Bonanza, big airports.
Yeah, that's Atlanta there. Atlanta Hartsfield.
That's a big airport to fly into. And so if you wanted to, what is that, San Francisco?
It is, yeah. 28 right at San Francisco.
See,
and that's Chicago here right there.
I've never flown by anything like that. Mountains, hard IFR stuff. I don't even think I've ever, well, I've had like a marshaller like twice. Anyway, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong buttons. There we go. Here I am. If you wouldn't mind, like, just walk us through who you are and what your channel's about, because I actually hadn't heard of you. This is impossible because you're kind of, like I said, you got a pretty big audience. I haven't heard from you until Brian Turner at Just Plain Silly was like, "Oh, hey, there's this guy. You should check him out." And I did, and then I felt bad about not having retractable gear. So tell people, the folks at home, like, what's the pitch? What's the elevator pitch for your channel?
The pitch for the channel is, I guess the channel was started after I flew to Chicago here for the first time. I have this weird goal, right? Many of us have goals in aviation. Some want to land at all airports in their state, or some want to do aerobatics. And one of my goals is I want to land the Bonanza at every Class Bravo airport in the lower 48. And I started with Chicago O'Hare. That was the first one. And I did some research before going there, through Google and on web forums, trying to understand what to anticipate when I go to an airport like that. And I couldn't find much. So my friend Rob, who came with me, he's a coworker and also a pilot. He owned one of these new things. They told me about it. It's called a GoPro. It's like a little camera, and you can put it on a suction cup mount and put it on the window and just record the flight. So we decided to record the flight, and I had some audio gear. I recorded the intercom and radio, and put it on YouTube, so that maybe others that are looking for information on how to go to a large airport could learn something from it, and maybe be a little less nervous or intimidated when they do. And that's one of the themes throughout many of my videos. I have a passion for passing on some of the things I've learned over many years of flying, and I try to do that in videos. I have cross-country flights, I have IFR flights, and I talk about what I do and why, and sometimes about the flight planning, always hoping that it's not just entertaining. In fact, my videos are probably not very entertaining, in the grand scheme of things on YouTube, but that there's something that people can take away where they say, yeah, I learned something from here, and I can use that in the future.
That's awesome. And I think like it's so amazing when things start that way, right? Where you're like, I'm gonna just do this because either for my own personal purpose or for trying to educate or help people, and then it just kind of takes off. Ha! Dad jokes. It takes off from there. And I think the other thing for me is, and I want to keep talking about this, but for folks at home, like who maybe aren't pilots yet, like to get a general aviation aircraft into a Bravo airfield is Bravo is a classification of airspace, a big airport basically. To get a general aviation airplane into a airspace like that is hard. Like we have O'Hare to the south of us, and I'm sure you're doing it under IFR clearances and things like that. As a VFR pilot, most of the time. I ask and ask and ask and ask, and once they've been like, "Go for it, buddy, come on in." I want to, before we talk more about that, someone did notice something, and I wasn't quite sure. Red Bear Modeling says, "Nice shirt."
Yes.
And I think I recognized that shirt from last week. So what happened, I think, is Savannah mailed that to you, right? She sent that shirt in the mail.
She didn't. Hers was a different color, but it was another Hawaiian warbird or airplane shirt. And I think it looked pretty good. So I've had this shirt for a couple of years, but really I wanted to look as good tonight as Savannah, right? So I looked at a recording of the show, and I thought, well, if I wear this shirt, then sure, I'll look as good as Savannah.
I think you're at least 90% there.
Yeah, I'll settle for 90%.
Easily. And the other thing is, what? Oh, stop talking politics, Experimental. No one's watching the news tonight. Everyone's watching this. We're watching this because this is what matters. They're not going to have an answer tonight. Just chill out. Airplanes only. The only swing state we need to think about is the swing state of the Bonanza gear.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. I'm kind of impressed with myself on that one. Let's talk about. Okay, so let's go back. So we've established who you are, but let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about like the origin story. You sent me a really cool picture, but how did you? I'm gonna post it here, but How did you get started in aviation? Let's go back. Let's go way back.
Sure. There are two childhood memories that I can think of that planted that seed. The first one is a vacation trip that my parents, sister, and I took. When was that? I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. We lived in Germany. That's where I grew up. Went to college, and at the time, our next door neighbor was a captain for a charter airline called LTU. They later were acquired by Air Berlin, and then Air Berlin went bankrupt just a few years ago. But anyway, that vacation flight from Düsseldorf, Germany to Athens, Greece, I spent in the jump seat of an L-1011 with our next door neighbor flying that plane.
Okay.
And for anyone, especially for any kid, right? That's an amazing experience that I can still remember vividly. The other event was I have an uncle on my dad's side of the family who, in his younger years, was a glider pilot in Germany, and he spoke to me at a family gathering at length when. All of a sudden, we had this long conversation. I realized, this is something that interests me, and he picked up on that, and he was very eager to tell me all about flying. And from that moment on, I remember reading books and going to the local airfield, and that was not long before I turned 14 years old. That's the minimum age in Germany to fly gliders, and I started flying gliders.
Oh, sorry, I cut you off. But is this?
Worries.
Is that? Whoo! Hey there.
Yeah, that's a few years later. That would have to be in around 1990 or early 90s. I started flying in '85. I soloed in that first year. The glider you're looking there is actually at the time it was a pretty high performance single seat glider, used for cross-country flying and competitions, from a German company called Rollladen Schneider. It's an LS7, that's the model. Very, very nice glider. But that took a few years to get there. Before it was a lot of two-seaters and then solo and then older, draggier one-seaters and, slowly stepping up to better and better gliders. And I did that for as long as I lived in Germany. I moved to the US in '98, didn't really find anything equivalent here. So that's when I switched from airplanes and gliders from that mix that I did in Germany to airplanes exclusively. But in Germany, I flew gliders more than airplanes and was a glider instructor in my flying club there as well on that airfield that you're seeing there in far western Germany.
So what's gliding, sail? You've been calling it gliding. I think some people call it like not sailing, like sailplanes or whatever.
Sailplanes, soaring. Yeah, I think there are multiple.
Soaring. There you go.
Yep.
Soaring. Mm-hmm. Way more popular in Europe. Is that true?
I think so. And there are probably multiple factors there. One is the cost of flying over there, the cost of gas, which you can more or less eliminate for gliders, except for the launch. Gliding is a very cost-effective way of flying. It's also emission-free, which probably to most Europeans means more than to most Americans.
I don't know. We got Tesla now.
Yeah, and we'll probably get electric airplanes at some point. But the other thing is, even airplanes in Germany, from everything I've seen, are done are used differently than here.
Okay.
Here, it's very easy to use an airplane for transportation. In Europe, not so much. You go to the airport, you fly a little bit, you land again, or maybe you meet with other friends and have lunch at an airport cafe and come back. But the traveling that I do here that I like so much, where you arrive at an FBO and they help with a rental car or they give you a crew car, all that infrastructure is nearly non-existent over there. So if you can't travel with an airplane, right? It's unheard of that private pilots have instrument ratings. Night flying, almost doesn't exist, right? Then why not just fly a glider, right? It's a very pleasant flying experience, a lot of fun. You probably learn more about weather and the stick and rudder skills than you do in an airplane. So I think that's a factor that helps explain why gliders are relatively speaking more popular over there than here.
I took actually one of I think I've told this story before, but I won't tell the whole thing because tonight is about you, not me. But my first ever like foray into trying to become a pilot was I took a glider, like a demo ride at a glider field, and came to realize that the middle of Wisconsin's not great for soaring. We were trying to get lift off of like the Walmart parking lot to stay up that day. We don't have like mountains around Wisconsin. At least like most places in Europe have. I don't know. It's a big generalization, right? It's a big place, but I feel like you've got more mountains, maybe just more mountains than Wisconsin.
Just like here, it depends on where you are. The place where I grew up, the picture that you showed earlier was. That whole area was very, very flat. You can't see it on the picture, but...
it looks kind of hilly. It looks like you're on a big mountain.
No, not at all. It's just it's just flat and some trees, and the largest elevation in a 20 or 30 mile radius was probably less than 100 feet from there. But a large parking lot, like what you mentioned, is not bad on the right day to create thermals. And you learn over time to look for places like that. Your eyes scan the ground and look for large industrial buildings, or maybe a quarry, right, where rocks have warmed up over the course of the day. And if you're really lucky, you have a power plant nearby with a cooling tower, and there's a lot of energy coming out of that cooling tower that makes air rise, and you can climb very well in that rising air before or after the thermals of the day can do that more naturally. And then
that's awesome.
Of course, if you are near mountains, you can do ridge soaring, or you can use the slope of the mountain and the angle that the sun has right to your advantage, because it amplifies this difference between cold and warm, and that's ultimately what creates the thermals.
I still really want to do it. Just gonna I think it was really fun, and the idea of like, learning, like I feel like there's all these little things that we can do as pilots to like make ourselves better pilots, and tailwheel was one for me. It feels like it helps a lot. Gliding, soaring feels like one that would be really, really helpful. Obviously, Sully, Grandpa Sully. If I ever get him on the show, I will not call him that. He talked a lot about how that helped him a lot. Some people in the chat really excited about soaring, and that's not why we're here. You're here tonight, but I just think it's super interesting. Martin says, I guess he's planning. A320 self-launch mixture idle cutoff. There you go. Yeah, do it. I bet you could. He's a good pilot. Anyway, okay, so you grow up on soaring. You are hanging out in Germany, soaring these super cool planes. What brings you to does work bring you to the U.S.? And then you're like, now I have this whole world of different aviation, like you were talking about, like the travel side of it.
Correct, yeah. I came to the U.S. through a job offer in 1998, and originally thought I'd be here for a year, right? Get to know I had been to the U.S. before a couple of times on shorter trips, but I knew there was a lot in the country to discover and improve my language skills, and certainly have a good professional experience as well that would be valuable. And I liked it. I liked it very much in my first year. So I thought, well, I should do at least a second year. And the second year was even better because now it wasn't. In the first year, everything was new, right? Your 4th of July, your Thanksgiving, you've heard of these things, but it's overwhelming if you have no idea what to expect. The second year, I knew what to expect a lot better. So I could make plans and do fun things with friends. So my second year was more fun than the first year even. And then I kind of got stuck here, right? I missed the exit ramp on that one. But no, I really like it here. I have a job that's in the aerospace world, so I deal with airplanes and avionics every day at work, and I can fly a nicer airplane and a lot more hours than I could afford on this money if I still lived in Germany, and take it to nicer places. Use it for travel, use it for going on a vacation trip with the family. That would not be possible in Germany.
So then, where you talked a little bit about this goal to like hit all the class Bravos, did that, and you might have covered this a little bit when you were telling like kind of the initial origin story of the channel. Is that kind of like, okay, I've done one, this was super fun, this is like kind of the ultimate pilot flex, right, to like stretch the legs of a plane like this? Does that, like, where does that come back in? Is it about what occurred to me when I was thinking about this was like soaring, they have all these, you get like badges and medals, and there's all these like triangle courses and altitude records and stuff. Was it part of your competitive nature based on that, the training to like build this kind of like large mission for yourself?
I have thought about why I find these large airports so fascinating, and I don't have a good answer to that question. I enjoy it, I like it, but I can't really tell you why. But yeah, that's. I think it is important that we have goals as pilots, right? Because once you get your pilot certificate, right, not a lot of people, but some people, they struggle after that because all of a sudden they have all this freedom and they don't know what to do with it. So having goals, no matter what they are, is good. It helps us grow as pilots. It helps us look for knowledge and try new things. And one of mine is to go to all these large airports. I enjoy it. I always like the experience. Why that is so, I haven't quite figured that out yet.
Well, I love that you do it because it scares the crap out of me. But again, I'm just a VFR pilot. I have a couple of questions people want to ask you. First of all, Jonathan with the super chat sticker thing. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that. He wanted to know, where is it? He wanted to know, are you, let me find it so I can put it on the screen. Oh, it might be so far gone. The chat's pretty active tonight. Well, separately, he says he's drinking a Rheingeist in honor of you tonight.
Oh.
I think I missed it, but there was.
I just have
is
coffee.
That good? Just coffee. Where is it, dude? Oh, I'm failing. I need a control room. Control. Put up the comment. He was asking. Oh, here we go. Boom. Found it. It was totally worth it. Do you do a lot of flying of gliders in the United States? I know we kind of got off that, but I want to make sure to ask.
Oh, okay. No, I have not flown in a glider in the United States. Not because I don't want to, but there isn't anything right here where I live. The nearest place that has gliders is about an hour's drive from here, and to do that on a regular basis is not really that practical.
Well, wait, how fast does your Bonanza go?
Well, in the Bonanza, it would be a it would be a 20-minute trip, but
there you go.
I got to drive to the airport. I got to get it out, right? And I got to get it in the air. No, it's that.
Then you got to get to the glider port. You land at the glider port. You got to put the wings on the glider, go gliding, come back, put it away. Yeah, no, we're doing this. You got to do it at least once. All right.
Yeah, I would love to do it, but I would probably do it when I'm out west somewhere, like in California, Nevada, and those places. They have really, really nice gliding facilities with good equipment and instructors that know the area.
Sure.
So it's been 20 years, so I'd basically start from scratch.
I bet it's like riding a bike. It's gotta be. We were expecting high comedy from Just Plain Silly in the chat, and I want to just recognize this one. Class Bravo airports have the best eggs Benedict. Class B.
That's why they call B, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Benedict. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Well, we can go home now. Brian got his joke in.
All right.
Cool. Other folks in the chat saying hi. Aved's here. Hey, what's up? Taking Off. That channel's in the chat. I think you know those cats.
Yeah, that's Dan Milliken from Taking Off and In the Hangar.
Dan, why don't we do a show where we turn the tables and you're on my show? That would be good.
You should do that.
How the turntables or whatever that quote from The Office. Flying Iowa's here. Lots of people here from your neck of the woods, it looks like. So, okay, let's talk about this. I had a question for you. Ooh, this is good. This just popped up in the chat. Sorry. I'm going to get to my question in a second. Martin says you need vinyl stickers for the Bonanza with all of the, like the World War II aces had.
Yeah.
I think you might actually look at that. That's a good idea, right?
Let me think about that. Yeah.
Oh, I have a guy in the chat. Jacob's in the chat. He makes these. He could make them for you. He's got a vinyl cutter, everything. Jacob, you're on the mission.
Like a map with every class Bravo has a symbol, and then we can change the color of the symbol or put an X in it when I've been there.
Yeah, fill it in or something. That's a good idea. So, okay, talk to me a little bit. He said, I can make those. So talk to me. Okay, so I'm a Cessna pilot, and I was thinking about, the joke is every time I do a show with a guest for the next week, I'm fantasizing about the kind of flying they do or the aircraft they have access to. And sure enough, like, we talked to get ready for the show, and then I've just been, like, on Barnstormers looking at Bonanzas, researching Bonanzas. I know you're not necessarily, like, you're more than your Bonanza, but, like, can you talk to me a little bit about, for folks at home who maybe are flying more of, like, a normal airplane, normal air quotes, like, this is a fast cross-country aircraft. I think you and I talked and you said you didn't feel like it was any different than any other plane, but can you walk me through like what that was like to go for, I guess, like you got your glider training, you come to the US, do you train in 172s and stuff once you were here?
Yeah, so the progression was from the gliders. When I started flying airplanes, I flew a Cessna 152. That's what I got my my airplane rating in.
Okay.
And then I flew Piper Warriors of different kinds. Piper Cherokees, Warriors, Archers, and then later Arrows. And I was in a partnership with a few people here in Cedar Rapids we co-owned a Piper Arrow 2, 4-seater, 200 horsepower, and constant speed prop retractable gear. So that was a step towards the higher complexity of an airplane like the Bonanza, and the controls, if you think of the gear and the propeller, are pretty much the same in the Arrow and in the Bonanza, and then the Bonanza just adds a little more speed to it. So it wasn't one quick jump from that, Cessna 152 or 172 in the Bonanza. Even though I think with the right training, that's a jump that is perfectly doable for most people. Because the Bonanza is I'm trying to think of how, if I can relate this comment to Brian's video, just plain silly. He did something really funny about Bonanzas just a couple of weeks ago. But there's no line I remember right now that I can relate to. It's a normal airplane, right? It's got the wings and the tail and the normal configuration. Even if you think of the V-tail, I don't have the V-tail, but if you look at the V-tail, I mean the controls you have in the cockpit, rudder and elevator, they work normally. You got a steerable nose wheel, so there's nothing really fundamentally different than in airplanes that most of us learn to fly in. What is different is you got more speed. So if you're flying IFR procedures or you approach the pattern right, you gotta control that speed a little more carefully, so as to not get too far somewhere where you haven't planned for it, right? And maybe the most important thing, at least it was the most important to me, is you have a much more powerful engine, right? All of a sudden I went from 200 horsepower to 285, and I recently upgraded that to
That's not
300.
even real. Sorry, that just seems like a lot. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That's a lot. That's a lot of more horses.
It's a lot, and we like power, right? But the bigger the engine is, the more you got to pay attention with of engine management, right? Is your mixture rich enough, or if you go lean peak, is it lean enough? Because there's that famous area in the middle, right? This red box. If you studied mixture management a little bit, where you can really damage your engine by making it way too hot. And so the moment I got the Bonanza, I spent a lot of time learning about engines. That was really the one area where I felt that I was underprepared and needed a lot of catching up. And so there are wonderful online sources like John Deacon's Pelican's Perch that I spent a lot of time reading. There was at the time a live seminar that three gentlemen did a couple of times a year in Ada, Oklahoma, called APS, Advanced Pilot Seminar. Unfortunately, they no longer do that. And that was a tremendous amount of information about how engines work and how you control the mixture, and what is a good mixture, and so all of what I present in my Lean of Peak video that some of you have probably seen is from those sources, right? It's no secret. All of that is out there. All of that is digestible and understandable by pretty much anyone. But that kind of a step to a high performance engine, I would say, to a high performance airplane, take the time to really understand how engines work, because if you don't, you can do some very expensive damage.
So it's different than when I get in the plane and I just jam it forward.
Yeah, it's the jamming forward part is you can't do much wrong, but it's when you go into cruise, when you lean it for cruise. Yeah. If you have no idea what you're doing, and you don't know how to make sense of all the numbers that you get from your engine monitor, you can get to a setting that is bad for the engine.
That's fair. Yeah. I think that one of the big things too is actually, even in like a 172, people aren't taking the time to like lean and be careful with it. And I think if you having only flown that, flying like a 172 with like an engine monitor in it at one point, right? Like I felt like I was setting good habits for the future, but it also, the engine on that particular aircraft was like bulletproof. Because everyone in the club was being so careful about following the SOPs that we had set about leaning and things like that. I want to take a moment there's some questions in the chat. This first one, I don't believe I've asked you tonight, but what's the count of the Class Bravos? How many do you have left? That Mike's asking that.
So my count is there are 34 of them, not counting Alaska and Hawaii, and I have been to 14 of them so far.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot.
They should all be doable, with the exception of Reagan National, right? They have security procedures in place for Reagan National since 9/11, where I don't yet know if there is a way for me to get there, or if there is one, if I can afford it. But maybe I'll save that one for last.
That you just call it. I mean, anything is with a phone call. Just make a couple phone calls. I'm sure. Have Brian go to the FISDO with you, and you'll get it all sorted out.
That's right. Yeah, Brian, if you can put a good word in for me there, I know you know everyone there pretty well.
This one's coming in from Nathan. Nathan Ballard's wondering, and I was like, I don't know if this. I have an idea what this might be. He's wondering what your best or worst oh crap moment is in a plane.
Yeah,
that you can talk about.
Yeah, that's I think that's an easy pick. So I was a glider instructor at the time in Germany.
Not what I thought you were going to say. Continue.
I was on a flight with a pre-solo student, and one of the things we did before the solo was a stall and spin demonstration. And so I was in the back seat, tandem seating, student in the front, me in the back, and we talked through it. We got up with the tow plane, got plenty high, released the tow cable, and I told him, I'm going to demonstrate a spin so you understand what it feels like, and I'll talk you through it, and stay on the controls. And I entered the spin, and at that moment, I held the stick, the control stick, in my hand. It had come undone.
What?
What had happened is, just before, there was a passenger flight, like a walk-up, that said, "Hey, can I fly with you sometime?" And we're happy to do that, right? It's good for a good relationship with the airport neighbors, and make sure we don't get noise complaints, and they see us as a friendly place. So we were always happy to do that. But one thing we do is we take the stick out of the back seat, because we don't know the people, and they might get nervous, they might get scared, and reach onto something that they can reach, in panic. And if that's the stick, well, that will be the end of the flight. So the stick had been reinserted, but there's a little wing nut at the bottom that hadn't been tightened.
Oh.
And I found that out just as we were entering the spin. So I told my student, "Hey, this is going great. Why don't you do X, Y, and Z?" And then very, very gently pull back on the elevator to get to a normal attitude again after the rotation had stopped, and it all worked out. But that was the scariest moment that I had. That probably matches the description of what he was asking about.
Ooh. That's I was not expecting that. I thought you were going to be like, well, there was this one time that the gear didn't go down in my Bonanza, and I was classically German and cool and collected, and it was no big deal. It's like this. Yeah. Is like, that's literally the most terrifying story I think anyone's ever told on this show. I mean, there've been, you're like, this is like episode 26, but like, I feel like, at least right now in my brain, I can't remember anything more terrifying than that. Oh my god. You win, man. You win. That
Yeah,
we gotta keep track of these.
And for years, even after I moved to the U.S., anytime I'm visiting my folks in Germany, I try to make it out to the airfield, and I've seen this student many more times over the years, and every time we talk about this, 'cause I did not tell him what had happened. I didn't want him to panic, right? Because if he pulls back on the stick in panic, that would take the wings off at that moment.
Whew.
So I didn't tell him what was going on until we were on the ground. And I think at that moment he got more scared than I was. It all had a happy end.
That's wow. Okay. All right. I wonder if I would be able to get back in the plane after that. I don't know. I think I would. You got to get back on the horse, right?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, you did.
I did check that wing nut every time I flew since then.
I would hope so. Yeah. I'm going to check every wing nut on everything forever now. Speaking of wing nuts, not actually. I just needed to transition to some questions. Ryan and Jonathan are going to get you into the DCA. No problem.
Oh, okay. All right.
Brian says he'll take care of it, but I don't believe him.
Maybe I need Brian's help afterwards when the Fisto gets wind of it.
Yeah, well, Marty's talking about how he knows how you can get in there with a fighter escort, too, which might be kind of cool. Let's see. Yeah, everyone in the chat with the story here. No way. Wow. OMG. That's how you pronounce that, right?
Right.
Okay, so, and you mentioned this before. Taking off was wondering what brought you over to the U.S. You said you just work, right? You got a job.
That's correct, yeah. My first job was, after college, was in Germany, in southern Germany, in a small division of a large company. And we were doing avionics work, but they closed that division and announced that a couple of weeks after I started there. It was not a good start into my professional life. So I had a little time to look for alternatives and had a few different offers from companies in Germany, and then also one here in Iowa, and that's the one I accepted at the time.
That's awesome. I'm catching up in the chat now, and people are, this one's funny in regards to your story you just told. A320 says, nothing to see back here. Keep up the good flying.
Yeah.
And then Marty's wondering, did the student get the spin endorsement out of that?
Yeah, it wasn't a spin endorsement, but we had the way we kept track of the students' progress was they had a little pamphlet, if you will, where we signed off as an instructor the different exercises. Starting with easy things like Dutch rolls and turns and straight and level, to the more complex. And this was one of the sign-offs. Trying to think, is that this? I don't think it's quite the same as an endorsement, but yeah, that we accomplished the objective of the lesson.
That is the most diplomatic way to to explain it.
Yeah.
So okay, we don't even need guys separately. I was about to ask Martin about this time his gear didn't come down in his Bonanza, but I don't like that other story. It was way better. But what I'll just say is you should go to your channel after the stream tonight and check out. It's one of the higher viewed videos in your channel, and I just wanted to say it is a masterclass in checklists and like aviating first, aviate, navigate, communicate. Like it is literally like a masterclass in how to handle that situation. Really, really remarkable. You do have like a little bit of a Val Kilmer look about you, so like maybe we'll just start calling you Iceman. because your the cool demeanor that entire time was really impressive to me. So everyone go check that video out.
It's a video where at first I was not sure if I should even make it because I thought it wouldn't be very interesting. Maybe the flying part, but then later really dealing with the Fisto. I mean, who am I? Am I Brian Turner? No. And for the ferry permit, and then overnight after I posted it got over 10,000 views overnight, and I was really blown away. And it's one of the many times where I have completely misjudged how well a video would do. The two that did by far the best, this one here with the landing gear trouble, and the other one is the Beach 18, the Twin Beach video that did even better. I would have not bet money that they do well, and then others that I thought would do really, really well didn't, and I cannot figure it out.
That's a good one too, but I think I don't know. Just go check them out. So okay, here's the other. So there's that part of your channel, right? There's like the cross country flights. There's the IFR flying, and then there's this stuff. And I sheepishly, when we were on the phone, I didn't realize this, but like there's like this instructional content. And you mentioned before that you were a CFI in gliders, but you're also like a CFI here now. That's like a thing.
As of this summer, yeah. In August, I got my my flight instructor certificate for airplanes here in the U.S., and I'm currently training to become an instrument instructor as well. Hopefully, I'll get that done before the end of the year. So yeah, I'm part of a flying club here in Cedar Rapids that I will teach in, and really look forward to that. Because over how long? I've been flying 35 years, right? And you pick up so many things along the way that have been useful for me, but I'm hoping they can be useful for other people, right? And I share a lot of it through videos, but teaching and working with students directly is going to be another way of sharing what I've learned and helping others make their dreams of flying come true as well. And it'll be another way for me to learn something. I've heard that from many people, and I can relate to it through my glider instructor experience, right? The moment you start teaching something, you realize what all you don't know yet just by trying to explain it to somebody else, and it forces you to get a deeper understanding than you ever had of the material, and that's license to learn, right? It's been
sure.
It should be a never-ending learning journey, and I look forward to teaching and at the same time learning and improving my understanding as well.
I'm trying to decide like how hardcore you'd be as an instructor. Like, are you like a hit the student in their hands, or are you super chill? Because I'm guessing super chill, but people surprise me.
Well, you'll have to bring some of my students on the show after some time and ask them. But I think in Germany, the feedback that I got from the flying club I was teaching, and maybe that's a good way to answer your question, because the students there flew with different instructors all the time.
Sure.
All the instructors were volunteers, and we had a schedule, and several weekends a year we were there to instruct, and then the next weekend will be somebody else. What I heard from the student is that they told me, hey, you let us get further into a bad situation than most others. So I
mean, based on the story you told us, yeah.
Well, that's when I got into a bad situation, not the student.
No, I know.
I think it's important that we don't intervene or give comments to make the student correct a mistake too soon. I think it's important that the student can see the mistake unfold. Of course, not to the point where it gets dangerous, right? We got to recover before that. But if everything is always perfect with a lot of help from the instructor, right, it's not much of a learning experience. The mistake has to be visible to the student, and then the correction makes more sense. And so I like to allow the students to get far into these mistakes, all under the umbrella of safety, of course, right? I mean, we won't. There are situations where we can't take that far.
So this is something I've been thinking a lot about as a dad. I was watching, your first. I think you've got kids, right? We talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe see if you agree with this. So the first kid's coming. You're reading all the books, and you're like, oh man, like I gotta be the best dad ever. I gotta read all these books. And they're gonna tell me how to be a dad. And most of it's BS, right? But the one that really resonated with me was actually a video. I think he's a YouTuber. A guy who I think he's all these different videos about parenting and stuff, or like what it was like to grow up. He's got cerebral palsy, I believe, and he said like, what's the number one thing my parents did for me that like set me up for success? And it was that his mom let him struggle, like even though he had a disability, right? He was fighting an additional challenge, but that his parents were like letting him struggle so that he knew he could overcome stuff. And I've been thinking a lot about that with my kids, because they're in that age where like you just do everything. You're like, oh, you're 2.5, yeah, let me put your coat on, let me do whatever. And then like suddenly you got like a 5-year-old, they can't put their coat on because I'm oversimplifying. Very different for this guy that I'm referencing, but it feels just, I don't know, relating it back to like hashtag dad pilot, right? Like the idea of like we have to, you don't learn unless you fail or struggle, right? So that resonates with me. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, we're almost out of time. This has been so crazy. I'm just checking the chat for any other questions people have. Blessed to Fly had a question. Oh, just about warbirds. Have you done any warbird flying?
Not myself. No, I flew as a passenger in a T6 once and in a P-51 once. A friend of mine, Doug Rosendahl from Mason City in northern Iowa, he is part of the commemorative Air Force, and it's not uncommon to have a lot of nice airplanes at his monthly airport barbecue there that he hosts at his hangar in Mason City. And very kindly, Doug took me along on a couple of occasions, once in the Texan and then once in the Mustang. And that was very, very enjoyable and impressive. But I have no experience in warbirds from the front seat.
Well, there's always time. There's always time.
Once I get all the 34 Class Bravos done, right, I need another goal. So maybe
you gotta fly every warbird into a Class Bravo.
Yeah.
All right, are you willing to play a game with me before we wrap up for the night?
What's the game?
The game. You know what the game is, don't you? You're in the chat sometimes. The game is called Short Final.
Let's play.
All right. So for anyone new in the chat, Short Final is just a fun game, a little question and answer game we play before we wrap up each night with some kind of quick answer questions, and we'll play that with Martin real quick before we wrap up tonight. When we get I gotta do a lot of buttons. I need a control room. That's my new thing. I need you guys to. We gotta figure out some sort of zoomy control room. All right, here we go. Got the music. Got the counter. All right, here we go, Martin. First of all, you're from Germany. Teach us a German aviation term.
Querruder means aileron.
Wow, that is a lot of syllables. Okay, well, it's the same amount of syllables. Okay, favorite civilian aircraft you've ever flown?
The Bonanza.
Fair. Who's the favorite passenger you've ever had?
Herschel Woody Williams.
Okay, I'm going to hear more of that in a second. You've landed all these Class Bravos. What's your favorite Class Bravo you've ever landed at?
San Francisco.
Are you a track up or a north up guy?
One each. Track up on the track up on the GPS, north up on the iPad.
Of course. What about your CFI now? What's your favorite flight maneuver to teach?
I don't know yet. Ask me that again in a year after I've actually taught a little bit more. And
what about the glider? When you were flying gliders, what was your favorite to teach?
Cross country, the navigation and meteorology in a glider, which is very different from how we fly airplanes today. Well, first of all, you have an engine that keeps you upright. You don't need to worry about staying there, staying in the air. And navigation with nothing but a stopwatch and a magnetic compass and a sectional chart and a large window, right? That was a lot more basic, and I always enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed helping others do it. That was back then my favorite thing.
That I love that. My favorite part is when you get as a student pilot, doing that. You take your pencil and you draw the pencil line on the sectional, and you get up there, and then you're looking out the window for the section, the graphite on the road, or the the field below. You're like, where's that pencil line I drew? Okay. People are asking in the chat. Wait, teach us aileron in German again?
Querruder.
I'm not even going to try. Okay, that's cool.
Querruder.
I love that. I love it.
You know what? I'll between now and the Zoom chat, I'll think of a different word, because one of the ways to make legitimate fun of the German language is we have these super long words, right?
Yeah.
Just adding pieces or words and forming one new word, where in an English sentence they would all remain separate words. So we got some really impressive long words, and I'll think of one in the aviation context.
This is awesome. I love it. Let's do it. Okay, so a lot of people. One more. It feels weird asking you to do this. Everyone is asking, how do you say clear prop in German?
You don't.
What do you say?
You say nothing. You just assume that everything is good, and you start the engine. This was new to me when I moved to the U.S. and it's one of those things where there shouldn't be anybody there to begin with, right?
That's true.
If there is somebody there who is, shall we say, adventurous enough to avoid the word dumb or stupid, to hang out by the propeller of an aircraft that people have just gotten into, right? Would that person really be smart enough to then run away when you hear clear prop? So I don't want to rule out that it has prevented some injuries or worse over the years, but I'm not sure that that's a very common thing.
That's fair. I think that's very interesting. Dutchy girl says it's not on my German checklist.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know what other countries do, but in Germany I've never said clear prop or heard anybody else say clear prop. So I don't know how we would say that.
Well, maybe we'll figure that out in the Zoom chat too.
I'm sure. Yeah, we can build a very, very long word, and it'll sound very intimidating when we yell it out the window in German.
Lindsey, actually, so Jacob sent me a message. He's working on his commercial in Iowa somewhere, I think. And he said, I had someone walk right in front of me as I was about to start today after yelling clear prop. So maybe it doesn't even matter. Save the syllables. Don't even need to do it.
Yeah, treat those props with respect. I mean, if you're walking around an airplane and you see people in it, just walk behind them, not in front of them.
Unless it's a pusher, then walk in front of them instead of behind them.
Yeah, right.
Go to the opposite side of them.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up. Martin, this has been awesome to chat with you and to get to know you these last couple of days. I want to thank you for taking the time to be on the show tonight. Yeah, I hope that someday maybe I can be your student for the day. I would love that. If you're into it, take me up sometime, man. Teach me some stuff.
All right, let's do it.
I just inserted myself in there. All right. Hey, and anywhere you want to send people? Anything you're really excited about right now before we sign off?
Such as?
I don't know. You got anything like new videos coming out that we should be prepped for?
Well, there's always a new video, right? There's there are a few in the pipeline. The next two, and I haven't decided yet in which order I'm going to release them, are another Class Bravo. I went to Cincinnati a few weeks ago.
Awesome.
And then I have one where I actually had a camera over my shoulder and recorded the screen during the flight planning and weather briefing. So I'm going to show the flight, the weather briefing process in particular, and then cameras during the flight where we compare notes. What was the forecast? What did I expect? What did I actually find?
Oh, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to those.
Well, we'll see how that one does.
I think that's cool.
With something like that, I never know. It might be the next 100,000 view hit, or it might be a complete flop. I am not making predictions anymore.
I'm going to predict 100,000.
I'm usually wrong.
YouTube's the second largest search engine, and people want to learn. I bet it's that one. All right. Cool. Well, Martin, thanks so much for being here. Everyone else, thanks so much for watching. A lot of new people in the chat that we're meeting just tonight. You guys are the best. Don't forget to share this stuff. That really helps the channel a lot. And if you're into supporting the channel with more, you can become a patron and come hang out with me, Martin, learn big German word tonight. That'd be really cool. Hey, next week, probably Mel the Traveler is going to be on. We're going to learn all about flying a decathlon. Another flight instructor. He's going hard for the air show performer dream. So tune in next week for that. I hope you guys are all good. I hope you're safe. And we will see you on the next one.